Hello, good evening and welcome back. So, the coronavirus UK lockdown is extended for at least 3 weeks. So, of course, it has its review every 3 weeks, and this review is to say, well, we've got to keep things as they are. There are ideas, of course, to eventually lift it for some and strengthen it in other ways, but for the time being, we can't sacrifice all the good progress we've made, and therefore we've got to keep it going. Everybody is waiting for a vaccine, even though I'm more interested in to see how the antibody testing is done, because if you can get the antibody test done a lot easier, then you might as well go ahead with them, so as to see how serious it is as to whether or not you need to wait so long and invest so much in developing a vaccine. It's as simple as that. So, of course, the Brits are responding going, yes, okay, fair enough, step on me harder, daddy. Meanwhile, in Michigan, they aren't enjoying it at all. They are loving their right to freedom of assembly, as we can see here. And therefore they've said, well, yes, we have the right to be out and about. You might have seen images or videos of police officers suggesting that they can just say, no, we're going to halt your rights as declared. Even in the amendments, even, of course, freedom of speech of putting out conspiracy ideas from it. But we're going to prevent your right from freely assembling because we can, because it's basically martial law now. To which, of course, the response has been, no, how about no? And, of course, some responses here, as we see on this flag here, based on the Confederate, it's image of a cartoon gun saying, come and take it. And that is, of course, the idea that if the civil liberties aren't being respected by the police, then that is why the Second Amendment is there, and so high up on the list as well, so that you are prevented from tyrannical governments. And at a certain point, if people aren't allowed to leave their own homes, they're not allowed to meet up with people, and they're not allowed to get an income, and they just have to do what the state tells them, and they're given their ration and their allotted money in order to go and buy the essential things, so they can only buy the things that the government deems necessary with the only money that the government deems that you're permitted to have. Then at that point it goes, well, yeah, this is far too close to communism for my liking, and I'm going to defend myself. And therefore they have the right to do that. Just as, if it's serious, of course, they have the right to get themselves killed as well. They're not moving into anybody else's property to infect people, not at all. They're wishing to come together, and so that's what they're doing. The idea being to say, if you want to stay home, but we don't want to, so stop making us. And of course, with the healthcare over there as well, that, as I will, if we get sick, that's on us and our insurers. So it's not even a national health service of you having to take care of us. We're going to do it ourselves, and that is our choice. So with that in mind, the main role from Britain, as you might have seen, is the You Clap For Me Now video, which I will apologise in advance. I will play in its entirety, but I think that's important in order to get full context. So of course it was going to get political at one point or another, and I apologise you had to sit through that, and I'm sure you're fuming as much as I am to try and suggest that with this very, very contradictory message to say, oh, well, you know what it's like for your home to be a prison. It's like, okay, cool, because again, yeah, overbearing government, I'm sure we can both relate. Your country must have been a shithole then, as you're saying. It must be, as Trump says, one of those shithole countries. So you decided to come to a better place. Right, because, hey, who wouldn't want to do that for themselves? They're putting themselves first. They're, of course, ignoring the rest of their country in order to try and make that a better place. Instead, they're just thinking more selfishly or opportunistic for themselves. What's the easiest route to get to where I want to be? It's by emigrating to a successful country in the United Kingdom. Very understandable. And if they're allowed to do it, why wouldn't they do it? If they're not patriotic, then that's fine. Of course, if they are and they bring along their culture, that's a whole other can of worms. But then, to contradict that, they say that we crossed for you. So, no longer is it, we come from a terrible place and we needed to escape, but it's, you were doing such a poor job and struggling so badly that we just had to extend a hand and come out in order to help you get on, because you're clearly failing. I mean, you know, as Great Britain, that the sun never set on the British Empire. Yeah, that great country, apparently it can't handle itself, and it clearly needs more immigration. I suppose this is the idea from 1948 to 1970, where about 500,000 immigrants supposedly came over. Exact numbers are uncertain, of course, which was about 10% of the population at the time, or about a fifth or a sixth of the labour force, because the idea was they were all working age and ready to get to work. The Windrush generation, from the name of the first ship that brought them over from Jamaica, I believe. So, yes. However, how on earth do they try and say, our place is terrible, but your place is worse? Is that it? Rather than saying that they come, is that really what they're trying to say? It's all starting to make sense. They come from a shithole country, so then because they know what it's like to live in such a bad place, they then go to an even worse place, which they can't relate to, evidently, in order to help out those people because they need it more. In which case, evidently not. I mean, if you look at Britain's track record for dealing with foreign invaders, we've done pretty well since 1066. Yeah, okay, but hey, it's not the heat that matters, it's the final, as Al Murray would say. So, in that instance, no, I think that's very much null and void. And the same with the jobs, it's that they're filling in these places in order to help the country grow. So, well, again, is it necessary? No. Are they doing something special that nobody else could do? No. But then they're mentioning, of course, that then they've learned, and hey, that's good. And so they're encouraging more immigration to come over. If you love the country, that's not what you're looking for. Because also, if you love the country, that's not what you're looking for because you want the culture to be preserved. But also, if you're saying this is such a terrible place that needs help, then stop trying to drag other people down with you. It doesn't seem to fit, and that blows through the narrative. Of course, this has gone viral. It wasn't intended to from the originator. He just wrote a poem. A female friend of his saw it and went, that's quite nice, I want to do something with it. Called us some friends, said, hey, can you read part of this and I'll mash it together and we'll see how it goes. And of course it was picked up by the left-wing outlets in order to promote it far and wide, in order for it to go viral and to be in front of your eyes this evening, or whenever you watch. So, fair enough for them. But then for it to be pushed and encouraged so much by places like The Guardian, without even looking through it and see, well, how contradictory is this? Is this actually something that we wish to endorse? No, probably not. Seeing that it says here, what the UK is most afraid of has come from overseas, taking our jobs and making it unsafe to walk the streets. This is the opening message of a widely shared video on coronavirus that subverts racist language, often directed at immigrants, showing that those who have experienced discrimination are now key workers trying to keep people safe. And, okay, so 17% of the NHS. But also, yeah, key workers, the rest of us are key workers as well. So, what, now the minority is more important? I mean, that's what they were going for at the end. Just one person can make a change in the world, basically. Just a small change to make a massive change. It seems to be subverting the culture. It's the same idea there. Just have a few little insurgents there, and then they can make a huge change. And I understand that I'm sounding more paranoid here, but it's trying to convey in a much more calm manner the utter disgust, frustration, and annoyance that I have for trying to push this level of propaganda, and ignoring, of course, all the people who have been working here for decades, for generation upon generation, who have maintained the British spirit, who aren't virtue signalling and are actually getting on with their work, and may even be applauding the other key workers and not making a big fuss of it. And I'm sure there are some of you as well who are key workers, and you're not making a big fuss of it. We're not trying to make a big video about it for us. Instead, it's the vocal minority who are receiving quotas and being given special privileges and grants and places in order to have these opportunities that they would not have in their own country, that they seem to admit as a shithole. And that is what really gets my goat. But hey, you see, we will remember, well, so will we. We will remember what you're trying to push out on us. And I think it's safe to say that with all these communities forming and cropping up, that of course patriotic alternative is the main thrust of this, that I think the tide is starting to turn. And this isn't of a racist sentiment, it's much more cultural importance, and to just say we have the laws, we want them all applied equally. That is it. We don't want special exemptions, because then it isn't a race issue, it is a class issue, and that is supposed to be what the left wing was in support of, class issues. And yet they've thrown that all out the window for their identity politics and cultural Marxism. So, until next time, keep doing what you're doing, develop those good habits, enjoy your quarantine time to focus on yourself, if you're furloughed, or enjoy the quarantine time to be able to pick up on extra work, as I know some of you do, deliveries and the like. Then you can see a more sizable paycheck at the end of the month. And most of all, until next time, have a good one.